Today's lesson is debating the virtues of self-driving cars. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And today we're going to talk about something called self-driving cars. These are cars that drive themselves. I guess they're a form of automatic cars, and they seem to be the wave of the future. We keep hearing about these inventions, and supposedly they're going to change our lives. I don't know if they're going to actually catch on or not. What do you think, Helen?
Well, I'm not really sure because part of me really likes the idea of self-driving cars because I don't like to drive. I'm not a good driver, so it would be great to have a car that I don't need to drive. But on the other hand, I do have some doubts about the safety issues surrounding self-driving cars, and perhaps that's why it's a subject of debate because you have people who are for it and others who are against it, and a lot of these views depend on what these people do for a living.
Exactly. So, of course, we're going to be talking about self-driving cars in today's lesson, and we're going to be hearing some opinions from people about what they think about self-driving cars. And we've got men and women from different backgrounds giving their opinions on self-driving cars. So that's what our lesson is all about today and tomorrow. So let's get to it. Let's introduce our topic right now by listening to the first part, and then we'll come back to talk about it.
Debating the virtues of self-driving cars. Self-driving cars, controlled by artificial intelligence, AI, and guided by advanced sensors, promise a future where vehicles no longer need a human in the driver's seat. However, as with any new technology that promises to dramatically change society, opinions are divided. Here are the thoughts of 8 people from several walks of life on this controversial topic.
大家好，第一部分来看到标题中的名词 virtue， 它的意思是优势或是好处，也可以是美德或是德性的意思。例如 The virtue of living in the city is that there are a variety of transportation options to choose from. 生活在城市的好处是有各式各样的交通工具可供选择。又或者说 They say that patience is a virtue. 人们说耐心是一种美德。再来我们看到 controversial，这个形容词的意思是有争议的或是引起争论的。例如 The controversial film was banned in several countries. 那部具争议性的电影在好几个国家被禁播。或是 The controversial book shot to the top of the bestseller list. 这本备受争议的书登上畅销书排行榜冠军。
So the title of today's lesson is Debating the Virtues of Self-Driving Cars. Here we have the word virtue. Now, virtue refers to a particular quality that is good, that makes something better or more useful than something else. So, for instance, I could say that patience is a virtue because patience is a good quality to have in life. If you want to achieve things, if you want to have success, sometimes or oftentimes you need to have patience.
Right, so again, we're debating the advantages and disadvantages of using self-driving cars. Now, here in the first paragraph, it says, self-driving cars controlled by artificial intelligence, AI, and guided by advanced sensors promise a future where vehicles no longer need a human in the driver's seat. So this is an introduction to what self-driving cars are. They are controlled by artificial intelligence. So they've got a computer inside the car that is making decisions based on the information it is receiving from the sensors. And of course, you probably program into the car's computer where you want to go. And so it uses AI to guide you to your destination, and it uses these advanced sensors. A sensor, of course, is something that picks up information from the outside world. It's going to have some visual information, like where the other cars are, what's the car's position on the road, etc. Those sensors, or those special instruments, will provide that information, and hopefully in the future, we'll not be able to drive our own cars, or we won't need to. The cars will drive us where we want to go themselves.
Right, and as for the word sensor, even though here they're referring to advanced sensors used by self-driving cars, we already have sensors in our daily lives. For instance, if you're walking through sliding doors that open as you approach, then the doors open because of a sensor that detects your movement or your body heat. Now here it says, however, as with any new technology that promises to dramatically change society, opinions are divided. In other words, opinions are divided about the virtues of self-driving cars. Some people have the opinion that self-driving cars are a great idea, while others think that maybe we should think twice about using self-driving cars on the road.
Exactly. So, yes, indeed, opinions are divided. Some people like the idea. Some people don't like the idea. Some people aren't sure. And here are the thoughts of 8 people from several walks of life on this controversial topic. So if you talk about people being from different walks of life, that just means they have different backgrounds, they're of different ages, different genders, different occupations, etc. So yeah, we're trying to get an overall picture of people's opinions regarding self-driving cars. Again, they're from several walks of life, and of course this is a controversial topic. People have lots of opinions on this, and those opinions can be divided, and people can have really terrible arguments about this particular topic because it is indeed controversial.
That's right. So depending on who you are, whether you're young or old, whether you like technology or not, you're going to have different opinions on self-driving cars. And we're going to look first at 2 people, Alexandra and Carlos, and find out what they think about self-driving cars.
Alexandra, 34, software engineer. As someone who loves new technology, I'm really excited about self-driving cars. Although they won't be perfect, they will make far fewer mistakes than human drivers do, and this will make our roads a lot safer.
Carlos, 45, taxi driver. I'm really against their introduction. What are all of us taxi drivers going to do to make ends meet if we've all been replaced by AI? Besides, can a machine really handle busy city streets better than people? I honestly doubt it. I think you need human instinct to drive safely in those kinds of environments.
第二部分首先看到片语 make ends meet， 它的意思是使收支相抵，或是勉强维持生计的意思。例如 Mary is a single mother with a low-paying job, so it's difficult for her to make ends meet. Mary 是个做低薪工作的单亲妈妈，因此对她而言，要收支平衡很困难。又或者说 Ruth made ends meet during college by taking out loans to cover part of her school fees. Ruth 大学期间借由贷款来支付部分学费，勉强维持生计。再来介绍名词 instinct， 这个字的意思是直觉或是本能、天性。例如 Whenever I'm faced with a tough decision, I always follow my instincts. 每当我面临困难的决定时，我总是顺从我的直觉。或是 Salmon know by instinct to return to the lake where they were born. 鲑鱼的天性是会游回他们出生的湖泊。
Okay, it's time for us to discuss the second part of our lesson for today. First of all, we have the opinion of Alexandra. She's 34 years old, and she is a software engineer. Of course, you all know what software is. It's basically computer programs that you can use in your PC or in your tablet or in your smartphone.
Right. So software is the opposite or the complement of hardware. So hardware would be your computer, your tablet, your smartphone, and software would be the thing that goes inside your tablet, your smartphone, and your computer to make these pieces of hardware perform certain functions. So Alexandra, she's a software engineer, somebody who creates software, and she says, As someone who loves new technology, I'm really excited about self-driving cars. So because Alexandra is a software engineer and she likes technology, and she probably understands more than most people about how self-driving cars work, how AI works, she's really interested and excited about this new technology.
Yep, so she loves new technology, so she's excited about self-driving cars, and she says, yeah, they won't be perfect, but they will make far fewer mistakes than human drivers do. And again, this will make the roads a lot safer. So she's basically mentioning here that these self-driving cars will probably actually obey the traffic laws. They'll actually stop at red lights, so there won't be so many accidents and there won't be so many pedestrians run over by speeding cars. So yes, indeed, they'll make fewer mistakes than human drivers do, and the roads will be a lot safer. I think that's a pretty good point, but again, self-driving cars have to work properly in order for the roads to be safe.
Right. Now, next we have the opinion of somebody else. His name is Carlos. He's 45 years old, and he is a taxi driver. And Carlos says, I'm really against their introduction. So Carlos is talking about the introduction of self-driving cars. Introduction refers to the act of bringing something into use or into action for the first time. For instance, you have the introduction of a new law by a politician, or you have the introduction of new guidelines in a company. So it's just the act of bringing something into use. And Carlos doesn't like the introduction of self-driving cars because, as he says, what are all of us taxi drivers going to do to make ends meet if we've all been replaced by AI? So Carlos's main worry is that if self-driving cars are going to become a reality, and perhaps self-driving cars can become taxis as well, then what about all the taxi drivers? They'll become obsolete. Nobody needs taxi drivers anymore, and they won't be able to make a living. They won't be able to make ends meet. In other words, they won't be able to make enough money to pay their rent, to buy food, to buy clothing, and so on.
Right, so of course, self-driving cars will probably be available on demand from people. You just tap an application on your smartphone and a car shows up. You get in and it takes you where you want to go. And then once you're there, the car goes off and gives somebody else a ride, so you don't need to own your own car. And again, taxi drivers will no longer be needed because those cars will drive people around automatically. So yeah, this is a legitimate concern here. Yeah, what are we going to do to make ends meet? How are we going to survive? How are we going to make enough money to feed our families, to afford college for our kids and stuff like that? And she says, besides, can a machine really handle busy city streets better than people? I honestly doubt it. Indeed, he might be driving a taxi in a city as chaotic as Saigon or Taipei even, where traffic is just a big, chaotic mess. And yes, indeed, can these self-driving cars really handle those busy city streets better than people? He does not think so. He doubts it. And he goes on to say, I think you need human instinct to drive safely in those kinds of environments. So your instinct is kind of like the basic ability you are born with in order to do things.
Right. So human instinct is a natural ability, as Roger says, that you're born with. It's not something that you learn. And for Carlos, human instinct is very important for driving because it's what prevents accidents. And this is exactly the thing that Alexandra, the person who expressed her opinion before Carlos, thinks is responsible for accidents on the road. So Alexandra does not trust human instinct, whereas Carlos thinks that human instinct is very important.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's find out what Emily has to say now.
Emily, 28, environmental activist. Self-driving cars would be a real step forward in our fight against climate change. One thing that increases pollution from cars is how inefficiently people often drive. If an AI program to maximize efficiency were driving every car, that would reduce each car's carbon footprint significantly.
第三部分我们看到名词 activist， 这个字的意思是社会运动人士 或是行动主义者。例如 The human rights activist was honored for her years of brave struggle. 该人权运动家因其多年的勇敢斗争而受到表扬。或是 Political activists gathered in the streets to protest the new bill. 政治运动人士聚集在街头抗议新法案。再来是 maximize， 它是动词，指的是使点点点最大化。举例来说 The government has a new program to maximize energy efficiency in all its buildings. 该政府有一套新系统，能让所有建筑物的能源效能发挥到最大。或是 John wanted to maximize the number of clicks his website got. John 希望尽可能增加自己网站获得的点击数。另外补充 maximize 的反义词 minimize, M-I-N-I-M-I-Z-E, minimize. 它有使降到最低限度或是最小化的意思。例如 Many scientists believe that reducing the usage of fossil fuels will minimize harm to the environment. 许多科学家认为减少化石燃料的使用可将对环境的伤害降到最低。再看一个例子 The organizer of the soup kitchen told his volunteers to try and minimize food waste. 该慈善厨房的组织者告诉志工们要试着减少食物浪费。最后来介绍 efficiency， 这个名词指的是效率、效能或是功效。可以说 The city is trying to improve the efficiency of its transportation system. 该城市正试图提升自身交通运输系统的效率。又或者说 The efficiency of the factory was raised considerably by the new production process. 新的生产流程大幅提高了那间工厂的效率。
Emily, 28, environmental activist. So this person is 28 years old and she is an environmental activist. Now, an activist is somebody who works hard to try to fight for something. Usually they want to achieve some kind of social or political change. You have animal rights activists who are people who fight for animal rights to prevent animals from being tortured. You have environmental activists who are trying to save the environment, to prevent pollution or climate change and things like that. And Emily's opinion is that self-driving cars would be a real step forward in our fight against climate change.
Right, so she goes on to say one thing that increases pollution from cars is how inefficiently people often drive. So this is true. People don't drive very efficiently. When the light turns green, for example, they go really, really fast and then they slow down rather quickly to stop at the next light when it probably will save a lot more fuel and produce a lot less pollution. When the car can move slowly when the light turns green and come to a slow stop at the next red light. There are various ways to decrease the amount of gasoline you use. But hey, people are in a hurry. They don't want the other people to get ahead of them. So, of course, people drive inefficiently, and that increases pollution. And it also wastes a lot of resources, and it probably causes a lot of accidents.
Yes. Now, if an AI program to maximize efficiency were driving every car, that would reduce each car's carbon footprint significantly. So Emily's main concern is environmental protection, and she thinks that self-driving cars can decrease pollution because people won't be driving cars inefficiently. Also, AI can be programmed to maximize efficiency. First of all, to maximize means to increase something as much as possible. I could say as an example that a company's goal is to maximize profits, which means that the company's main concern is to increase its profits as much as possible. Here, AI can be programmed to maximize or to increase as much as possible efficiency.
Indeed. So again, she's seeing this from an environmentalist's point of view. If an AI programmed to maximize efficiency were driving every car, hey, that would reduce each car's carbon footprint significantly. Carbon footprint just refers to how much greenhouse gases you produce through your activities, whether it involves how you get around in your transportation or the foods you kind of eat or other things you do in your life. You want to reduce that carbon footprint so we don't have so many greenhouse gases going into the atmosphere and causing climate change.
Right. And the key here is that AI can be programmed to maximize efficiency. Efficiency refers to the way that something is done without wasting time or money or energy. So when something is running with efficiency, it's not wasting any energy, it's not wasting any resources. And this is where AI comes in, because if you have AI that can be used to control a self-driving car, then the AI can maximize or increase efficiency, which means that it would reduce the amount of energy, time, or money to perform that task.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Let's listen now to Hanny and see what she has to say.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第3部分，我们看到 C 选项是一位环保运动人士 Emily 提出的看法。她提到说， If an AI programmed to maximize efficiency were driving every car, that would reduce each car's carbon footprint significantly. 好，我们看到 if 子句的主词是 an AI， 那么后面用分词片语 programmed to maximize efficiency 来描述这个主词，表达说已被程式设定为将效率最大化的 AI 人工智慧。好，那我们就看到啦，这个单数主词搭配了动词 were driving。这其实是用到了 if 引导与现在事实相反的假设句，用来表达跟现在事实相反或者是极不可能发生的假设。好，那我们就来看看它的句型结构是 if 主词加上过去式动词或者是 were 逗号主词加上 could, would, should 或是 might 再加原形动词，这是表达假使怎么样，如果怎么样。那其中的 if 子句也可以移到主要子句后方，这时候注意移到后方的话，句子中间就不用加逗号咯。好，那另外要注意的是 if 子句的动词是用过去式，可是如果你要用 be 动词，不管人称就一律都要用 were。那至于主要子句的部分，则是用过去式助动词 could, would, might 或者 should 再搭配原形动词。我们造2个例句。If I were you, I would make the same decision. 如果我是你，我也会做出同样的决定。那注意 if I were you 这个 be 动词我们是固定用 were。再来 if I had more free time, I might take up the piano. 如果我有更多空闲时间，我可能会开始学钢琴。但现在的事实就是我没有更多的空闲时间，所以我做了这个假设。好，那补充一下刚刚说的 if 子句的动词要用过去式。那如果你想要在其中用到助动词的话，这时候也必须使用过去式助动词哦。就像课文第2天他有一句写到说 If self-driving ambulances could navigate traffic more efficiently, a lot more lives might be saved. 那 if 子句的动词部分它就用到 could navigate， 然后主要子句的动词部分它用到 might be saved， 那都是在过去式助动词后面接了原形动词。我们也来造个例句。 What would you do if you could be invisible for one day? 如果你能隐形一天，你会做什么呢？好，那也顺便补充一下，如果我们是要表达跟过去事实相反的假设，它的句型会是 if 主词加上 had 加过去分词 pp 逗号主词 could, would, might 或是 should 再加 have 加 pp。我们看到句子里面 if 子句是用过去完成式 had 加 pp， 那么主要子句则是用 could, would, might 或是 should 去搭配完成式。举例来说 If I had known the secret, I would have told you. 要是我之前就知道那个秘密，我早就告诉你了。那过去的事实就是我当时并不知道那个秘密，所以没有告诉你。而这个例句就是在假设相反的情况，如果我当时知道，我就会告诉你啦。好，那么以上就是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Virtue. Ray's patience has proven to be a virtue in his high-stress job, as it helps him handle difficult situations calmly. Censor. A motion sensor in the watch keeps track of how many steps you take each day. Controversial. The new law is very controversial, and not everyone is happy with it. Software. Alex develops software at a large technology company. Instinct. John relied on his instincts as he made his way through the dark house. Activist. Political activists are demanding a change of government. Maximize. Vernon wants to maximize his income by taking on extra work. Efficiency. Changing the light bulbs in your home can result in greater energy efficiency.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.